Manever I say ma PENDREAM TV. PENDREAM TV there, I see them yopo.
People had to say, including the clergy, lawyers, and many other organizations. And Sana, I can tell you, I worked on the invitation letters to the CSOs, and I was shocked that perhaps you had more than 300 civil society organizations in this country. But it demonstrates the commitment of government to listen to very diverse perspectives, take suggestions on how to fight this. And so when the minority says that the engagement with the CSO is nothing but a publicity gimmick, you can tell that the NPP has really not left itself in the way in which it's misgoverned this country into the abyss. Not too long ago, the past government was not willing to listen to what you would call dissenting opinion. It is the reason why my brother here, Ebu, who was once an NPP person, even became a member of the Movement for Change. Because even in their own party, views of people who felt that things could be done better were just relegated to the background. And so the NPP is not used to a governance style that allows people to express their contrary opinion. That actually brings different perspectives on board. It has to be that some few people in the NPP would then be described as the repository of all knowledge. Anybody else must go to sleep. I think that's how they say it. And that is not a good approach to governance. And so I want to say that this morning on behalf of President Mahama and the government of Ghana, every view calling and asking that something should be done about Galamsey, we hear them. When the Catholic bishops speak, a very consistent organization that has spoken in the past, we think that the concerns are legitimate. And I must say that even after during the engagement with the CSOs, the rep of the Catholic bishop said, we are satisfied and we are optimistic about what we see government doing. So this is a group that acknowledges that we have a menace to fight. And we call on those with the powers to fight it. But we must also applaud the efforts of the government. Because not too long ago, we were being told that, oh, first of all, there is no Galamsey. And even if there was Galamsey, it is something that has been with us every time. That is a very factual statement. We were told that, you know what, do not politicize Galamsey. But behind the call not to politicize were politicians engaged in Galamsey. It is not possible at the time not to have politicized. And let me use myself as an example where I sit at the presidency. I work directly with the secretary to the president. Directly with the president. Can you imagine how unconscionable it would be that at the time when this government has created NIMOs, saying that we need to combat illegal mining, put families, husbands of people on the field to fight Galamsey. I mean, at the very peril of their lives, trying to do something to salvage our water bodies. At the time when the government is saying that let's have this I always can't get their names right. The Responsible Mining Cooperative, where people must be given alternative livelihoods. Then I sit at Jubilee. And even at the time when I'm coming on TV, then I'm engaged in Galamsey. How unconscionable, and how is it that people will say, let's not politicize Galamsey, when the politicians were those doing it? And so in the past administration, it was important that Galamsey was politicized because most of the perpetrators and the campaigns were NPP politicians. Wuntumi chairman, Wuntumi a regional chairman, and now an aspiring national chairman. I actually pray he wins. Of the NPP. Kate Jemfua, a national women's organizer, and many other regional and constituency executives and people who were in Jubilee House directly working with the president were those who had both legal and illegal mining concessions. And we were being told that, you know what, Ghanaians should join us to fight the NPP politicians who were doing galamsey. And so it's important for us to know that what is happening in the past, or what happened in the past, is not what is happening today. Today, you don't have anybody at Jubilee House who is engaged in illegal mining. You don't have any appointee, a minister, howsoever described, engaged in illegal mining. And you know the beautiful thing? President Mahama says that as an appointee of this government, you cannot even engage in legal mining. If you want to engage in legal mining, nobody faults you because the laws of Ghana allows you. But you must relinquish your position so that you can go and engage in the business of what you call legal mining. And so even for political appointees, legal mining have been banned because we don't want NIMOs getting to a certain concession and some NDC member bringing documents and saying that, oh, this is legal mining. That demonstrates one of the highest level of commitment any president would demonstrate in our history, in our quest to keep this menace of galamsey. In the past, when even the Minerals Commission itself said Akonta Mining was engaged in illegal mining, the president came out and cleared him. And you know, Wontumi will have his day in court. And Wontumi is in court. And I am an ardent believer in everybody should be presumed innocent until and unless proven guilty. So he will have his day in court. And I wish him all the best. I mean, on a lighter note, I actually like him a lot. If you see him in person, he's very quiet. So I actually like him a lot. But it's not about my personal feeling. It's not about, at the time when the Minerals Commission said that this company was engaged in illegal mining, no mean a person than the president came out to say that Akonta Mining was not engaged in illegal mining. And Tena, the shocking aspect is that at the time the president was making the statement that Akonta Mining was not engaged in illegal mining, there was a police CID investigation report that indicted Wontumi. It is the basis for which today he's been charged. And so you could tell that in the past, the government was not just committed to fighting the menace of illegal mining. They felt it was a political decision because we were going into an election and they needed to, develop a communication guideline, give people immunities to mine, and like the Professor Frimpong Watten's report and tape said, party here sika. The NPP party then needed money. What do we have today? First of all, we have a government that is committed and acknowledges that this is a threat to society and everybody. We have a government that acknowledges that when political appointees are involved, the fight becomes difficult for both the security services, and so has banned political appointees from both legal and illegal mining and all forms of mining howsoever described. We have a government that has set up the NIMO Secretariat, that today one of the most consistent journalists, Erastus Asaridonko, who in the past could not even express an opinion on matters of illegal mining without his life threatening, today is even telling us about the good work that NIMOS is doing. We have a government that has instituted an alternative responsible livelihoods for people in the hope that many will abandon the pits while we aggressively fight them. This week, if you know the work NIMOS has done in the Western and the Western North region, I think we must just commend them. We may not get to where, we are not where we are. We want to see our water bodies clean. We want to go back to the river bodies as they were in 2016. We want people to be able to have river as a source of swimming, as a source of water for many other domestic purposes. We acknowledge as a government we are not there. We acknowledge that there are challenges. In fact, I have made the point, and President Mahama has also made the point, that in the course of implementing policies in our quest to fight galamsey, there may be some mistakes that will be made. There may be some policy propositions that may not go well, however well they are intended. But we are happy to review it and come back to the table. Here, review doesn't mean cancel. Because when you are on platforms with NPP people, you must be careful that when you say review, you must issue a caveat that it doesn't mean cancel. To revise the policies, as I speak to you, we have instituted new regimes where excavators are being tracked. So people don't import excavators and bring them into this country under the guise of constructions or other legitimate purposes, only for them to be found at galamsey sites. We have also arrested over 1,400 excavators, and it is instructive to say that none of the excavators have developed wings and none is missing. They are all intact. We have arrested over 1,000 people engaged in illegal mining, and many people have said that do not just go after the young people who are doing the illegal mining because the kingpins are behind. We hear them because that is true. These people are just employees. So the moment you go after them, the next group of people or the kingpin will employ the next team. And then we go after one of the self-acclaimed kingpin. I didn't even think Woon to me was a kingpin until he himself took gold and went on live television. I hadn't seen gold before. I mean, in its raw state. I know that people have gold bracelets and all that, but I haven't seen gold in its raw state before until Woon to me went on TV and practically had to show people gold. He made so much money that at a point he wanted to buy Chelsea football team. Was it Chelsea or Manchester? Chelsea. He wanted to buy Chelsea. He was bidding with world millionaires and billionaires. Today, the government says that there is a report that indicts Chairman Woon to me that says that he's one of the kingpins behind Akunta mining. And the government is then going after the kingpin. We hear you when you say, don't go after just those, doing the menial jobs. Go after the kingpin. Government takes an action. And they say, because Woon to me is a politician and an NPP person, his political party and political association should by in itself be an immunity to all alleged crimes he may have committed. Where do we say? So what is the expectation of the NPP when it comes to government fight to galamsey? I want to tell the people of Ghana to keep faith with President Mahama. President Mahama is not a beneficiary of illegal mining. President Mahama does not have appointees who benefit directly or indirectly from illegal mining. President Mahama is the president that when you petition that his own appointee just has a vision to make $1 million, he would take the person off within a twinkling of an eye. President Mahama is the one that when there are allegations of misconduct against his own party members, at a time when his government is even enjoying a goodwill, he will refer them to the appropriate authorities for them to be investigated. And he has demonstrated that commitment. And so I want the people of Ghana to be rest assured that if there is any government that has the political will to fight the menace of illegal mining, it is the NDC government. If there is any government that is listening to diverse opinion, diverse suggestions, and calling on stakeholders to say that bring perspectives to bear in our quest to fight this menace, it is the NDC government. And so I want the people of Ghana to keep faith with this government And you know, in all these discussions, I would not want to equalize. But sometimes when I listen to my friends in the NPP, I ask, what is happening to this group of people? So naturally, the thing is bad. The NPP is saying that, you know what, in 8 years, we granted in excess of over 1,500 licenses for people to engage in mining. In fact, we granted mining leases for people to mine in forest. We brought the LI 2462, and we said that that was the right thing for us, even though we intended to fight Galamsey. But some reason, yes, for 8 years, we may have destroyed the water bodies. We may have done whatever damage you claimed there were before you came to power. But you used 9 months and 10 months to fix it quick. Fix all the mess we created in 9 months. Why can't you just fix it in 9 months? Let other people say this so we can have the opportunity to explain to them. Let other people express these concerns and views so we can say that, you know what, maybe you don't appreciate things from a certain perspective. So let's try and bring new perspectives on board. But let me even ask, assuming for every mess the NPP created, for every day of the mess they created, the NDC also needs 1 day to undo the mess. I want to ask them, and maybe our viewers and listeners can help me with the mathematics. How many days would the NDC need to undo such a mess? You know, when we were in school, they used to ask us to find X. These days, we are finding X in NPP. So if NPP use 365 days. I want to do this calculation on TV. 365 days times 8 years, that's 2,920 days. So for each day, assuming they created 1 inch of mess, how many days do they expect the NDC to use to undo their mess? Yes, we admit we are undoing the mess in the economy. Today, I'm just seeing that Fitch and Moody's have upgraded us from CAA 2 to CAA 1. We are moving from the junk status. We know that there are economic indicators. Today we've moved inflation to a single-digit inflation. We are hoping that it would reflect in other critical areas. Lending rates, I mean, I don't even want to be regurgitating some of these things because I believe that macroeconomic indicators must reflect in the micro so that the lives of people are better off than we came to meet it. But there are signs to show that this government is committed to undoing all your mess, all the mess the NPP created. And we are undoing it. And it's the greatest commitment of President Mahama. But in the area of Galamsey, someone should help me find the X. If you use over 2,920 days to create a mess, how many days do you expect the NDC to use in trying to correct the mess? We recognize that the responsibility is on us. We recognize that we have now all the apparatus of the state to make sure that these things are done rightly. And we are doing our best. And I can assure the people of Ghana that trust the process. Keep faith with the NDC. Trust President Mahama, a man who has so much integrity that he will not tell you one thing in public and do another in private. A man who has shown that I want to do things right in my second coming. I want to help us to build the Ghana we want. Do not listen to the noises. And while we welcome diverse opinion in our quest to fight this Galamsey, I think maybe the NPP should exercise some restraint. I think they are in a bit of like emotional, they have some mixed emotions going on for them at this point. They don't know whether to focus on Ghana, to focus on their flag bearership race, to deal with the disappointment, to get movement for change people back to the party. A lot is going on for them and we can appreciate it. But the commitment of the NDC government remains. that members of the NDC would not profit from a crime that endangers all of us. Because when you buy water, when you buy food, it will not ask you for your party card. When the effects are there, sometimes even those who are engaged in the galamsey, they may have more money to even have access to other facilities outside the country compared to those who may not be directly involved. And so we recognize that we are all endangered species. And I can give the people the assurance that the NDC government would fight galamsey. And with time, people will appreciate the many things that this government is doing.
Thank you very much, Beatrice. All DCs, MMs, DCs, and all police commanders sacked because they are all aware of the mess going on in those areas of Ayao. Send that from the OT region. Thank you very much for sending in those comments. Beatrice?
Thank you very much, sir. I could literally hear Kobe struggle to talk about what is happening in the NPP, and much as he tried to be very diplomatic about it, I can understand the difficulty, and I keep telling my friends in the NPP that you cannot struggle in communication while you're in government and struggle again when you're in opposition, because then fundamentally there is something wrong, because in opposition you don't have any obligation to do anything. So yours is to bring to the fore the challenges and then leave it there. Sometimes prefer alternative solutions. So when you see communicators in the NPP struggle very much in power, and again struggling in opposition, you're wondering, would they ever get better? Because I've been an opposition communicator before, and I know how it feels like. So to go through the same pain twice in different positions, I can only but imagine. But when it comes to the issue of what is happening in the NPP, I think God has a way of paying people back for the things they do to others. They call it karma or something. And so you subjected the nation to a lot of bad things. I don't even want to remind viewers and listeners about some of the most painful things the NPP did, like the debt exchange, where you literally took people's savings. People have worked. They never had the opportunity to live the lives that many politicians will live. Why? Because they want to save for the unknown future. And I remember all the theories in my economic class were actually made, for want of a better expression, useless under the NPP government because somebody didn't listen. This is a government that at the time had 126 ministers, and we were told that the only way they could solve the challenges of the country is to have 126. Today we have 58 ministers, and even the macroeconomic indicators are better than when you had 126. They practically kept sinking money in the cathedral, and they had justification for everything. And at the time, you didn't have people of conscience. You didn't have elders. You didn't have the leadership of the party stand up to say that the political party, as I've always maintained, is a vehicle. And everybody at every point in time will have the opportunity to use that vehicle for many other purposes, but ultimately for the benefits of the state. And then you step back for others. And so when you are in a political party and some people that we can best describe as cartel were destroying the political party, we heard of the Achim mafias. We saw the Ijapadia book, which sometimes you want to believe is fictional, but then everything was happening. It was as if it was some prophetic book, and everything was happening. And nobody could call these guys to order. Sometimes I wonder, because In the political party that I come from, the NDC, like my mother will say, who born dog? I mean, it won't even happen for you to imagine what will happen. And every political party, especially as long as it's democratic and has to elect leaders, will go through some turbulent moment. I mean, the world over. Even the US that prides itself as the mother of all democracy, sometimes you see that both the Democrats and the Republicans are going through some very tough phases in their internal election. The NDC has gone through that for everything that is happening to the NPP. Not in the same way, but similar instances where people were aggrieved and they left and all that. But you didn't see this level of self-inflicted disruption going on in the NPP. Currently, as we speak, I don't think the NPP has leadership. I'm told the national chairman is not well, and we wish him speedy recovery. I don't know who the vice chairmen are. Maybe you can only recall two executives, Justin Kodia and then who? And Anabi. The rest, we don't even know them. You know, maybe once a while, sometimes you be watching TV and you see somebody and they say, this is, then they give national executive position. I'm like, hey, I don't know. I don't need to know the person because it's their internal affair. But it tells you the level of lack of leadership in the NPP. I keep saying that you cannot subject the country to the atrocities that the NPP subjected the country to and come out, you know, and think that you have your party intact. Yes, political parties are designed in ways that people will disagree. But you cannot, as a party, encourage then again Chemaun to me, who would use words in ways that I can't even describe or repeat on TV about women. And then, I mean, somehow they were very happy. And Abronye I am one person who believes that when you subject yourself to public service, you cannot dictate what language people should use to hold you accountable. I am against censorship. I think people should be allowed to call their leaders for who they are. People should be allowed to speak truth to power. And I'm one person that I think the NPP, they call me out. I mean, some of them use unprintable words about, I don't even care. Because I believe that the moment you come into the public space, you cannot say that people should use nice words to describe you if they don't agree with certain things you're doing. I bash the NPP and I'll keep bashing them. So when they got the opportunity to bash me, they are only doing what I would probably do. And I don't even care. In the first, I don't even recognize insults. They don't do nothing to me. I keep saying I'm Ghana. And where we come from, we eat insults. So if you insult me as an NPP member, nothing happens to me. And so I would not ordinarily criticize people who would use harsh words within some scope to describe their leaders. The president that I serve, in fact, it's on record to be nicer to people who have criticized him than even his own party people. And internally, that's some of the issues people have. They say that the president is too nice, the president is too tolerant. So I work for a man who is tolerant, and if for anything, I ought to be learning from that tolerance. But you have the likes of Abronye and many other people you cannot, and even including Kobi's own candidates, Kennedy Japan, use some very unprintable words. I don't know how to describe them. And these guys were happy. And today, they have just turned the gun on themselves. You know, initially it was against the NDC. Today they just turned their back and it's on themselves. And the party keeps depreciating. I wish them all the best. Because perspective, and I keep saying that two heads are not better than one. Two good heads are better than one. Because if there are two bad heads, it obviously can be better than one good head. So two good heads are better than one. And we want to see a responsible opposition enriching the discourse. I, for the longest time, would normally research before I go, because I want to expose the government and I want to expose them with data, so that perhaps if somebody is listening, they will go back and it will serve as a feedback. So we want to see responsible opposition. We don't want to see noise makers. The NPP now have become like noise making. They hear that something has happened without any basis. They say, oh, we are holding a press conference. It's as if it's a competition for who should be recognized. And even in their internal contest, now I think Bawumia has about 55 aides. Everybody is aide to Dr. Bawumia. Every former appointee, you see them more aide to Dr. Bawumia. Everybody aide to, so almost all campaign members are aide. It tells you that the party is not structured. I started my politics by age 17. You know, sometimes people feel because I started speaking on TV, I started politics. Like, I started politics before I could vote. Before I could vote. And if you understand the grassroots politics, the real people, the real people with the power are your branch executives. They are the people who decide the constituency and then region and then collectively national. And so if you want to build a political party, you cannot build a political party with people who are speaking nice English and they are sitting in AC and they are sitting in Accra and are making the decision. You ought to go to the base. The NDC has lost an election before. Then with also, I mean, more like a new level of loss with 900 and something thousand. What did we do? We went back to the base. We listened to what their grievances are. And if you understand local politics and the dynamics of local politics, the perspective of my grassroots people are just lovely. You'll be amazed on a simple matter, the reason why they will not agree. And it would never have occurred to you sitting in Accra with all the privileges that you have. But that is their main concern. And Gabi Oshedako said it, that when you meet the Ashanti region MPs, they told them that they don't need roads and infrastructure in Ashanti region. That's why they abandoned the region.
So they didn't need flyovers.
They didn't, yes, of course. But Bawumia says he would choose Ghana card over interchanges. So what would they be needing interchanges and flyover? And so perhaps they were engaged in other things. And I'm surprised that at the levels of MPs, that's how they can think. And that's another discussion we should be having with the NPP. Because if at the level of members of parliament, they think that their constituents don't need good roads, the flag bearer himself thinks that Ghana card is more important, not equally important, then they have a problem. But let me conclude by saying that the NPP is not a political party that anybody should take serious as we sit today in our current dispensation. First of all, they do not believe in young people. They don't have in NPP, they dispute it, but it's a party that you ought to come from a certain lineage. You ought to have a certain path in the party before you can rise. I, Beatrice Annan, with you, Kojo Mensah, watching me, Ya Ampoma, you will have no space in the NPP. You must probably come from a certain JB Dankwa tradition, a certain action lineage. You must have some, like you must have a home address to show that this is me before you probably will be given an opportunity. You can't build a political party that way, because with time, those things will be past glory. The NDC is a political party, and I maintain, and I'm an evidence of that, that all you need are your capabilities. Nobody will ask you what is the name of your father. I don't think President Mahama has met my mother or my father before. I don't think the party chairman even knows my mother. It may never even have crossed their minds. And so when you build a party on the basis of some lineage, on the basis of some whatever, which is not in tandem with modern principles of democracy, when you go into opposition, people will not want to hear Gabi speak. Why? Because they felt he was an unspoken, or how do you call it, prime minister. They had a name for him. Something prime. De facto prime minister. So they don't want to hear him speak. Not because his opinions may be valid or not. Because people felt that these guys built some power blocks around them and they are the reason. So the anger boiling in the system. So at a point, the Bawumia campaign had to dissociate themselves from these guys. Why? Because we think that people are angry with them. In NDC, we don't have power brokers. At every time when you sit at meetings, even at the political level, it is what is in the ultimate best of the citizens. So I am not surprised. And the NPP, to tell you that they don't learn and they will never learn, in opposition, first year, second year, this is the time to have been rebuilding your party. This is the time they conducted some research that everybody had different pages of the research. They said they printed one copy. So I'm sure when the national chairman finishes reading, then he will pass on the printed copy. I mean, where from? How did we get here? I wouldn't be very lost. We used to read about Darocha and Peter Lajete's NPP, and how even in law school they used to pride themselves that they were the intellectuals. So where are the intellectuals in their parties now? They don't have those men and women they promised. They didn't have them in government. But at least in opposition, we expect some emerging. You know, in opposition, you discover talents. You discover, now it is even a barricade, all former appointees, aid to Bawumia. The rest that are coming like Obiamo and things, they have to join Kennedy Japan. Otherwise, there is no future. So you cannot build, and what is happening in the NPP is not just partisan something internally. It is a reflection of what they will do if you give them power. The people who can manage the little resources they have, they are party members, perhaps less than 6 million people. That's if they have even data on to that number. And you expect them to manage the destinies of everybody in the country of 32 million. You cannot do that, because amongst themselves, where they have a common goal to rescue power, they have a common opponent, the NDC, to make sure that we are matching up to the NDC. They are standard. They can't even agree on what to do to strengthen themselves internally. How do you hand over the entire nation to a group so confused as the NPP as we speak? A group that cannot even agree. The NDC will have our internal primaries. People will contest. There will be dissenting views. We've gone through that before. People have left the party. We have come out even stronger. And the records will reflect. You do not find this level of, moral deprivation in the party. Because when you go off, you go and say something that the national executives deem wrong. Is it General Siedun Ketia or Fifi Kwete that would say you are my friend, so I will not punish you? Or who? So it's important that Ghanaians know that these people are not a group of people that we must hand over the destiny of this nation to. Because if they cannot manage their internal elections, if they cannot even manage their internal affairs, if they cannot listen and welcome opposing, or dissenting voices internally, you can imagine what they will do with power. And we saw. And I don't say this to remind Ahmed Swale, the family of Ahmed Swale, of their pains, and Kaka, and many others who, for the longest time, Manasseh Azuri Demsud had to literally flee to, South Africa. Because even without power, even without anything, they cannot stand themselves. Kennedy Japan's team is always at the neck of Bawumia. Bawumia's team is always at the neck of somebody. It is a complete mess. And then these guys then have power, and you criticize them. And that is why even the president engaging civil society on illegal mining is a new norm to them. Because why should you even listen to a dissenting opinion? The NPP is at a stage that perhaps we need to give them about 12 years to organize. they must appreciate that democracy is not monarchy. That a political party that fails to evolve, a political party that fails to appreciate the nuances of the time and evolve to meet the demands of modern trends and the citizens, is not a political party that you must hand over power to. And we wish them all the best, but like we say, as if they pain them, it sweet us. So we wish them all the best.
Thank you. Thank you very much. A few comments. Papa BCU says, also the majority of Ghanaians are now enjoying the good work of His Excellency John Mahama. Galamsey seems to be training, but after the CSO's meeting with the president, even they had not to crack. That's the president of GJA expressed surprise at the good work the government is doing to tackle the issue. The city is stable. Gradually, we are getting there for the betterment of all Ghanaians. He said that from spin test. There's Prince Henry Kofoidu who says Galamsey fight should be collective, devoid of politics. I support the call that chiefs must be proactive in the fight against Galamsey. Also, our various MMDCs must play a critical role in the fight against Galamsey. I would not be surprised to see President Mahama sacking some MMDCs in the coming month should they fail to help fight against Galamsey. The situation we find ourselves in now demand collective support from all so we can solve the menace of Galamsey for ourselves and our future leaders. God bless our homeland, Ghana. Thank you. Yes, Jonas, who says, Senna, yes, Kwesi Pratt was right about how Alaji and Alaji came about. I started listening to Alaji and Alaji from day one. It started at Vibe FM at the Trust Hours. It was balanced with the political parties involved. Now, it was the same Alaji and Alaji. When Kennedy Ejipon had a problem with Kwesi Pratt, we nearly turned to fisticuffs between the two. When Kwesi Pratt talked about going to the Hotel Diwawa to take just one shot. And Ken asked Kwesi if he's a man, he should try it. I remember that vividly. Some of us left our homes and got to the hotel at exactly 3:30 at dawn to support Kwesi Pratt. Because according to Ken, he's coming with thugs to fight Kwesi. So Kwesi was right. Okay, says like Kevin Taylor always said, go and open your own if you have problem listening to him. That's Jonas who sent that. Good morning to our friend Michael Arthur. Mr. Pratt?
Well, look, I think it hasn't dawned on people yet, even though the facts are there in our face. The new patriotic party you have today is not the new patriotic party even in early 2024. It's a substantially different political party. You understand? Why do I say this? You have a substantial break away from that party. The movement for change has broken away. It hasn't gone back. Indeed, from all that I'm hearing, within the next 2 weeks, it will be a fully registered political party. And it's coming out of the new patriotic party. That's a fact. You understand? Not just that, as we speak, there are other prominent persons in the party who are preparing to launch another political party. You understand? So, at least you're expecting 3 parties emerging out of the new patriotic party. That's a fact. And that should be a source of worry for anybody who is a member of the party, for anybody who is seeing that party as a machine for election. It is splinting. You understand what I'm saying? That's clear. Now, one would have expected that given these circumstances, there would have been a lot of effort, on the reconstruction of the political party, its rebranding and so on. You don't see that. All you hear is about who is likely to become the flag bearer of the party and so on. Flag bearer of what party? A broken party? What impact can you make? What impact can be made with this broken party in the next elections and beyond and so on? So I think that some effort has to go into thinking about how to reshape the party, how to position it and so on. there were some noises about bringing back all the old folks who had left. There was reference to Dr. Nyahota Makro and so on. At the same time, you hear them saying that they don't want those people back. I mean, anytime Atta Kennedy, for example, makes a statement, they say, who is Atta Kennedy? He's no longer a member of the party, and so on. So you don't see that genuine attempt to encourage people to come back to the party. I mean, what you see is a deliberate effort to drive people away from the party and so on. Now, there is something that perhaps is not obvious, but it should have been obvious. And it's simply this. Look, the first time the Dankwa Buzia tradition, that's how they call themselves, Dankwa Buzia Domo tradition, won free and fair elections in this country was in 2000. Check the records. In 1969, they had to ban the CPP. You understand? Even other political parties that came out that looked like the CPP were banned, like the People's Popular Party led by Dr. Lutrot and so on, to win that 1969 election. Since then, they won no election. The only election which they won was in 2000 with President Kufuor as the candidate. Now listen to me very carefully. President Kufuor won that election because he went out of his way to cultivate other traditions. President Kufuor deliberately built what was then called the Great Alliance in order to be able to win that election. Not just that, President Kufuor erected billboards across the country of himself and Kwame Nkrumah. Check, go back and check. His billboards had Kwame Nkrumah on his billboards and so on. Okay? So he presented as some kind of a united front. He built bridges with other political traditions and so on to be able to win that election. Okay? Now, you take the victory of Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo in the 2016 elections. And Senna, they may want to admit it or dismiss it. The fact is that Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, even without saying it, was seen as a bridge. Because there's so many people who said, but we know him, he's a member of the CPP. He was a member of the CPP. And that's a fact. Okay? So a lot of people saw him as a bridge. They didn't see him as a typical Dankwa Buzia Dombo person and so on. They saw him as somebody who belonged to the radical wing of the Convention People's Party. Indeed, he belonged to the left wing of the Convention People's Party. And his own sister, Marigold, there's actually a video of the sister talking about how after the 1966 coup, Nana Addo ran back home and had to be hidden because he was on the list of persons to be arrested and so on. You understand? So it surprised a lot of people when he became president and he started this anti-Nkrumah rhetoric and so on, given the fact that he had benefited from his association with the Convention People's Party. And this is a fact, you understand? Now, so the point I'm making simply is that the NPP has never won elections on its own strength. And that at all material times, you can argue that it won on the basis of a presentation of itself as a broad front and so on. Okay. Now, the party is preparing to go into another election. It is fractured internally. There are 3 parties emerging out of 1. It has lost an election, and I believe largely because it was too partisan. It presented a narrow view of politics. All these anti-Nkrumah attacks by Napo and so on killed that party. You understand? So you factor in the fact that they've lost that broad CPP constituency is lost, which helps them to win elections is lost. And then the fact that they are splintered, into 3 different political parties, or they're likely to be splintered into 3 different political parties. And you can see that the future is very, very, very bleak for the party. But it doesn't appear that they see the problem. So they are continuing, as usual, they are continuing dreaming about the strength they don't have, and so on. And it is interesting for me, watching this contest for primaries and so on. There's only one of the candidates, who is appreciating all the things that I'm talking about now. And it's Kennedy Ejapong. Kennedy Ejapong is the only one who sees that the NPP on its own is not going to make any headway. And that is why Kennedy Ejapong has started talking about wanting to emulate Nkrumah. I'm sure you are aware that he's been talking about how to emulate Nkrumah, how to work with other political forces and so on. He's the only one who sees this problem and is making some noises, is doing something about repairing this damage that the New Patriotic Party, appears to be suffering. But beyond that is also the perception. Is it just a perception? I don't think it's just a perception, it's also reality. About the party machinery itself doing everything possible to make sure that there's only one outcome of this contest. And that's clear. Look, they went to file their papers and so on. There were 5 candidates who filed their papers. It was only Dr. Bawumia whose filing process was live streamed on the party's official channels. What does that tell you? What does that tell you? This whole thing is skewed, or some people are trying to skew it against other contestants. And the consequences can be very disastrous. And as my brother here said, if these matters are not taken on board, they will win primaries. One person may be the one they prefer, the party machinery prefers, so will win. But there will be no opportunity for reconciliation and rebuilding of that party. That's a total disaster. You understand? And then, Senna, I think it's about time that politicians woke up to the fact that their relevance is only to the extent that their candidature can lead to the resolution of the concrete problems that confront our people. Why? People don't vote for candidates because they are tall, or because they are handsome, or because, they vote for them because they have concerns about their lives. They have problems that they want solutions to. All of this contest, have you ever heard any of those candidates, and again, somehow strangely, it's only Kennedy Ejapong who is talking about these things. Have you ever heard any of them talking about how to revamp the cocoa industry? Have you? Have you heard any of them talking about that? Have you heard any of them talking about the state of national infrastructure and so on? Have you heard any of them talking concretely about the unemployment situation in our country and so on? Unfortunately, it appears that the only one I'm hearing is Kennedy Ejapong, again. But you see, be that as it may, I have followed the tiff between Gabi Otredakun and largely the members of parliament or the parliamentary caucus of the NPP in Ashanti region. And I've followed it. And I've asked myself a few questions. What is Gabi saying which is not true? Somebody should tell me what Gabi is saying which is not true. Gabi is saying that if you have such a crucial election to contest, and you go apologizing and nobody knows what you are apologizing about and so on, it's a problem, and isn't it a problem? Those of them in that party who are apologizing, do you know what they are apologizing for? They said they are sorry, they didn't do well and so on. Why didn't they do well? They can't tell us. So all this apology, what is it about? It appears to be some contrived, messaging. And it doesn't help anybody in national politics. Why? Gavin saying, what are you apologizing for? And that if you make these apologies and nobody understands what the apology is about and so on, in the final analysis, these apologies will come to harm you. Is that not the true statement? Master, I've finished.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Maybe a few comments just to conclude. This one is from Alaji Hamza and Pig Farm, who says, good morning, my brother. Let's stop beating around the bush and call a spade a spade. We're told by the former Minister of Lands and Natural Resources, the Mineral Commission and the Forestry Commission told us that Akuntamani had no license to operate in our forest reserves. So no one should sit down and say it is a witch hunt. If there are witches out there, they should be hunted. Jamawun to me and his Akuntamani has done a lot of destruction to our water bodies and forest reserves, and for that matter, he should be made to pay. That's Hamza who sent that from Pig Farm. Okay. Romeo says there's something we are all forgetting. Stability of the rivers can also be increased by rainfall, even if there is no galamsey. Romeo sent that. Romeo, thank you. This one says Beatrice has always been impressive in her submission on any platform. I regretted joining Alaji and Alaji late today. Please tell her to update me on her routine panel discussion going forward. So I always opinions in the wish. Don't make promises you can't keep, Beatrice, Okay. And of course, thank you all very much for sending in those comments today. A big thank you to you for staying tuned and watching us from wherever you are, and also listening to us on any of our many platforms. Let's extend congratulations to those who were called to the bar yesterday. I make special mention of Ajua Ejapoma Ansong, who's appeared on this platform a couple of times, who was also called to the bar yesterday. Interestingly, when Ajua got to the law school, Ajua started telling me that she can't come. She can't come. Very interesting how when people get to the law school, they have to behave. You have to be careful what you say. Until you are done, you can't talk. So congratulations to her and the many who were called to the bar yesterday. Well, a big thank you to Kwame Kwesi Prajina, who is General Secretary of the Socialist Movement of Ghana. And of course, a big thank you to Beatrice Anan, who is a member of the NDC communication team. I now find out one thing that I can add: future president. And then, of course,
I just want to live.
Don't destroy her, please.
I have no such ambition. I don't qualify. I'm not 40, so I don't qualify.
Not yet. And of course, always nice to see Abu Bakman, who is a spokesperson for the Movement for Change.
Let me make this correction. I'm not a spokesperson. I'm a deputy. I'm deputizing Solomon Hosu. So we are both. Solo is the communication director and the spokesperson, and I'm the deputy communication director stroke. Deputy spokesperson.
Okay. So deputy spokesperson.
Yeah.
Deputy spokesperson for the Movement for Change, soon to be a political party. By what you've told me, by next weekend, we'll have a clear idea as. Okay. He said the certificate has been issued already. Okay. They've made a lot of progress in that direction.
He actually said
the name of the party.
Yeah, so
This week.
I think you have submitted the papers.
They've completed the process.
Yeah.
Wow.
Completed the
And
process.
what about the other one, Dr. Amaku?
They are working on this.
They haven't submitted.
I don't know, because we don't have anything in common in terms of we are not related in terms of what we are doing. We are pursuing the Ghana agenda. Yes, we are pursuing Ghana agenda. We believe that we need a responsible opposition.
Okay.
So it's not true that these people they are only fighting. We are going to fight
we
us
are
too.
going to fight
Kobiawa is a law lecturer and also a member of the New Patriotic Party, an aide to Mr. Kennedy at Japan. I say Abrewanim.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he said Abrewabia name one.
One of the finest guys you will see in this in NPP is this guy. Probably. One of the finest.
I think he was my junior in school. I feel very old.
But I am saying that number. We are unapologetic about our views. So do make a date with at the same time.
I'm not PENDREAM TV. Now, so far so good. Say open online portal e Ghana. Nipa share, nipa follow, nipa comment here. To my best of knowledge, without any biases, PENDREAM TV.